Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial and Mom. And today we are here to talk about Ready to Love. Season 3, Episode 8, Ready to Love. And I'm ready to see the exact man and woman who is leaving today because there's so many people who could leave. I'm not too sure who's going to be. So let's get into the review. So we start off with seeing everybody walk into that bar area, which always looks so good. I wish I was there, especially in this time of quarantine. Nephew Tommy lets everyone know that it is going to be a cookout this episode. I was like, okay, where's the chefs at? Well, only chef, because Shay left.
Right.
I'm like, they should have kept her. Maybe like gave her...
No.
Not like as a cast, well, just give her something else to do.
No, there's no take back seats, come back because you're a chef, we're having a cookout. No. That's not how this works. So the cast, they're excited about that cookout. And Edwin, of course, stepped up and said, I got my apron, I'm ready. I'm like, good. I knew he would do that.
It's time to show out.
It is.
So moving forward, we see Calfani and Adriana sit down and talk. I was like, oh... again, but it's not even them just sitting down to talk. It's everyone else pretty much being paired up with somebody just to chit chat and eat and stuff. But the whole time when Calfani and Adriana was talking, a little kiki, a little chuckle, a little movement of the chair, Denise's eyes was like,
exactly. Well, I mean, where else would they be? She's always got her eyes tuned into her prize, which was Calfani. But the thing that Adriana was talking to Calfani about was how she felt all giddy with him. And remember the night before when we was, with that kiss, like, oh, I just felt so good inside. And Calfani ate that up. I wasn't surprised at that at all. Were you?
No, but you know what else probably caught Denise's eye? Because she knew that Adriana said something about her. Her ears were ringing, so she already knew, because Adriana always seems in some way to bring up Denise. But if I was Adriana, I wouldn't even bring up Denise anymore, because it kind of already seems like Calfani is swinging her way anyways. So I would just let that go.
You're right. That's how Adriana works. But you know what? She's not the only one who brings up other people too. Winter brings up, with Jay, like, well, what about Joy? I'm like, just go on your date, enjoy your time. I just have never understood why they did that.
Yeah. But you know what? In this episode, which I was kind of happy that Denise did, because I was like, instead of her always worried about what Calpani is doing, she needs to focus on Denise and find somebody, at least in the meantime, to talk to keep her preoccupied. So Denise said, you know what? Two can play this game. I'm going to roll with Anthony. And Anthony... he just goes with anybody. Well, not anybody he's really feeling. But it always seems like the people who he claims that he's feeling, he's never making a claim on them. So if he's not doing that, the other women, which is pretty much Winter and Denise, they don't really feel like he really wants to be with them,
Yeah, I do. But let me touch back on Denise's comment when she said, two can play that game. That was the movie back in the day. And whose character was she? Was she Gabby Union's character or someone else's character? Because she said two can play that game.
I don't know who she is. Probably she wants to be Vivica, but she's giving more of a Gabby tease. But in all, Anthony really, really likes Denise. He vibes with her. They always joke. And something else that he brings out of her is good conversation and great stories. We actually learn more about Denise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
When she's with Anthony rather than she's with Calfani, because I was feeling Denise's episode. I'm like, okay, I like her story. I like when she isn't too much in your face.
Well, I have to disagree. I'm not going to think that I'm not going to say that she doesn't give more conversation to Anthony than Calfani. I think she went real deep with Calfani about the past relationships, about the domestic that she endured, things like that. I think that just Anthony, is a different level where it's like a peace level, because she connects with Calfani versus an Anthony. But at the same time, I know you're ready to say something, but at the same time, I was feeling Denise on this too. I'm like, okay, see, this is what we need to see from you. We need to see a little bit of the softer side or the calmer side. She talked about the reason why she moves wanted to be a model, only had $200 in her pocket. So she's a go-getter, and Anthony likes that.
But the difference is between Anthony and Calfani, to me, conversational-wise. Anthony asked Denise the questions. With Calfani, Denise just brings it up. Moving on to Jay and Joy's date, there's no surprise that Jay once again is letting us know he's feeling Joy in winter, but he wants to take his number one boo, Joy, out for a little wine date.
Yeah, and I thought that was cute. And the thing with the wine date is, Jay said he wasn't really into wine, like he didn't know the difference between the two, but this was Joy's niche. That, you know, I'm like, maybe she's a wine connoisseur and maybe she's a sommelier. We'll have to see.
A what?
A sommelier. I think that's how you say it. Sommelier. I don't know. A professional wine person who knows about red wines, white wines, you know, different things like that. So.
Oh, okay. Well, she could be, because she was kind of educating him on how to sniff the wine and all that stuff. I'm just like, I just want to drink it and go from there. But they seemed like they were having a really nice date, and of course Jay wants to make this into a sort of like a game or so, you know, just trying to get a kiss. I don't even remember exactly the rules of the game, because I'm like, they're gonna kiss either way. If someone wins, if someone loses, they're both gonna win, because they're both about to get affection from each other. But to me, that wasn't even the best part.
What was the best part?
The best part was when they were describing themselves or each other as wine. And Joy described Jay as, you know, a red wine vintage with, you know, some chocolate hints in it.
I was like, chocolate?
And then Jay's gonna go ahead and say that, you know, she's more like an Afrocentric wine, you know, 1 of 12.
Yeah, but what he meant to say was she was a limited edition. She's like, no, maybe like the only edition. What he was trying to say was it was rare. I understood where he was going. It just didn't come out right.
Right. No, it's not 1 of 12. I'm 1 of 1. And then, what other date we got? Because we got a lot of dates.
Well, we'll talk about the Rashid and the Adriana date that they had. Now, their date was super cute. I've never seen this before. Wherever they got the cameras from.
Taking pictures?
Yeah, a photo date. Have you ever done a photo date? Like a photo shoot kind of thing? Like fun, quirky?
I mean, no, but it's not unheard of.
I didn't say it wasn't. I just said it was super cute. And just like you had mentioned before, how production was, you know, coming up with some really nice things like that, Tahiti boat last week or whatever it was.
And then on the truck it was Rashid and Simone on that truck.
So Rashid explained that Adriana is his number one. Even though they're getting down to, you know, certain men and certain women, he wants her to know that she's his number one boo, as you would say, and the number one pick. So one thing I noticed about Adriana is she tends to say with Rashid and Calfani how she gets warm and tingly inside. And I'm like, Adriana, you get warm and tingly with both? I thought maybe you were leaning more towards one more than the other. Do you think that's weird that she's warm and tingly with both? Or is she feeling both? Or what's happening here?
No, it's not weird that she's feeling warm and tingly, especially because they're isolated on this house. That's what I'm getting the vibes from every time you say that, which is weird. But I feel like she's going to end up, of course, she's going to end up choosing one of them. But I feel like she might need to choose up a little bit quickly, because Denise is definitely not on the sidelines, but on the sidelines looking at Adriana, and it's not going to go good for her. She needs to hurry up and choose.
Well, she does need to choose, but Denise shouldn't be the one to force her to choose. She needs to choose with her own heart. But we later in the evening, after their photography date, see Adriana and Rashid. They're now sitting down and they have a more in-depth conversation. And the topic comes up about kids. And I think they had this conversation before about kids and family, stuff like that. And, you know, Rashid's asking her if she's ready to be a mom or even a bonus mom. She's like, yeah, I'm ready. It kind of reminds her of the family that she grew up in. And Rashid was saying, you know, he's ready too. That's something he's always looked forward to, like having siblings and like being a big brother and going to the basketball court. Like, who's messing with you? You know, beating up somebody, you know, stuff like that.
So he wants that for his kids?
Yeah, I think he's saying...
his child, excuse me.
Yeah, he's saying like, you know, how he always wanted a big family or something like that. And Adriana's like, yeah, you know, we're going to be the type of family, you know, we're all going to have matching shirts and coordinating. So, you know, if they end up staying together, do you think they'll have like matching PJs for Christmas like families do?
I don't know. I kind of feel like she's just pillow talking with Rashid because she hasn't really chose anyone. So it's kind of like, why do you even want to continue having this conversation about what you're going to do with his family? I mean, yeah, expanding a family of your own, but not creating future goals and set dates and stuff. And you don't even know you want to be with this man.
Now we have a date with Edmund and Simone. And one thing I noticed about Simone was she was making the rounds too. Her and Anthony were making the rounds.
And Edwin too, don't forget.
Well, her and Anthony more so, because we've seen Edwin date before. I'm still trying to figure out where Anthony and Denise got that connection, but that's neither here nor there. So while Edwin and Simone are on a date, you know, when they sat down and started talking, Simone just started with regular conversation first, like, oh, you know, how you doing? What do you do? Stuff like that. And he's answering questions. But the main question came up about his childhood. She's like, so how were you raised? Who raised you? Stuff like that. And he mentioned he was raised by his mom with his 2 siblings. And he mentioned he had a brother who was handicapped. And clearly his father wasn't in the picture. So when Simone asked, like, you know, any type of relationship with your dad, he was like, no. And so when she went into the conversation, I right away, before he even mentioned it, I'm like, ooh, is she not sound like a lawyer? This sounds like an interrogation. This doesn't sound like questions of getting to know you. This sounds like, so, did you do it? When did you do it? How you do it?
Well, it wasn't more so like that. It was more so like, you know, you're saying that you don't have any feelings about your father who lived in the same town as you and you never seen him. You say you don't feel a type of way about it, but of course you have to feel a type of way about it. Why wouldn't you feel a type of way about it? It wasn't empathetic at all. It was just more so she was just trying to get to an answer that clearly he wasn't going to get. And for some reason, she wasn't trying to accept. Like, you sat down, what was it, the second episode, and involuntarily told people your story with your dad, and everyone listened and was saying kind words to you. Now the tables are flipped and it's Edwin because you asked this question voluntarily,
right?
And now you're not accepting the answer that he gives. It's a perfectly fine answer. If someone feels like that, they feel like that. I, for one, agree with Edwin because, you know, if you watch Mom's story about her ready to love situation, and then I was the boom that happened in her marriage. My dad wasn't around, and I don't feel any type of way about it, even though we live in the same town. But some people might do. So some people do, some people don't. It's just an answer she just had to accept, and she wasn't accepting it, and it was kind of like, yeah, conversation's kind of over now.
Yeah, and then, you know, she was saying, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I have my lawyer hat on. So, you know, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. So you don't have to answer the question, but I'm asking anyways. And I'm like, see, there it is right there. That is so, as you said, empathetic and so, like, not concerned about someone else and their feelings and getting to know you. That, to me, was a turnoff. Edwin said she had her lawyer hat on, you know, and he just wasn't trying to answer the questions. He actually felt uncomfortable, and I can see why.
Then after that tragic scene of a date, or whatever they want to call that, we see everyone at the table, and I guess they're doing another rap battle. They're clearly bored in the house and in the house.
It wasn't a rap battle at first. It was their, I guess, a nightly or every week dinner freestyle that turned into a rap battle this time.
Yeah, and everyone gave their little raps. I'm like, okay, it's cute, it's cute, it's cute. Until we got to Alex. When she said that, I fell off the bed. I was like, Alex, girl. She said, you know, I like Brian, but I'm also feeling Rashid. I'm like, Brian, this is kind of what you get because you have not been too great with Alex with the words and not listening and the jokey joke, and she feels that vibe. So I definitely felt like he felt the type of way when he heard that.
We happened to see Brian and Alex go on a date. Well, was it a date or was it like, can I just talk to you?
It wasn't a date. It was, she said what she said, so he had to make an impromptu talk with Alex. So he pulled her to the side, but I don't mean to laugh, But he brought up literally the same conversation they talked about last week. He's feeling disconnected with her, so he just wants to touch bases with her to see where she's at. And from my knowledge, when they had this conversation the week prior, Alex was talking to you about basically her concerns and some of the things that she's been through with her domestic violence and all that stuff. And you weren't listening. She brought that point up again about her domestic violence situation. And he was like, what? What conversation? Like, were you not there, Brian?
And at the same time, when he said that, I was like, is he kidding or is he not kidding?
No, he wasn't kidding.
Exactly.
Brian, like he said throughout this whole episode and series, that Brian is really about Brian. And we can definitely tell that as the show has went along, especially with this episode. And every time she was trying to make a point, he always tried to make it jokey, try to make her laugh or smile or something. It's like he's only worried about charming Alex and not really trying to get to know the real root reason to why.
And then when Alex asked him, so have you ever been in love? He's like, yeah, when I was 20, but I was kind of doing what I want to do back then. But he's mentioned that before. So, the premise of him coming on the show is to find someone. But,
he's not ready. He's not matured yet. Still, Alex is not feeling him. That's why she's feeling Rashid.
Now, moving to Edwin and Joy. They have again, it's the next morning. So I don't know if these are really dates or just meetups because everyone's up and about. So I guess it's a date in a way. And they're walking, talking to the lake. And Edwin tells Joy how he came out in the morning. It was mist all around the lake and his chest was heavy and he didn't know what he was feeling. All he could do was put his hands up to the heavens and he got emotional. And he was saying how from his military experience and police experience, how he's seen things that people haven't seen before, so which contributes to his PTSD. And it's not okay in society for men to cry or get emotional, which I've heard that too, and
everyone's heard that.
And he's saying how he just had to break down. And Joy is listening now. That's what Joy does. She's a listener. Yeah. I don't think there's a connection there, but she's listening to what he has to say.
Yeah, not only is she listening, sorry to stop you, Mom, but it kind of seems like she's receiving and trying to help Edwin in a way that, Brian should have been doing to Alex, but that's neither here nor there. But it was a really nice conversation because it really seemed like Edwin had something on his chest, literally, with his dog tags he said he had to take off. Yeah. And I'm wondering who were those dog tags about. But it just seemed like something was lifted off of his shoulder. And I know I would say he talks a lot, but
I don't mind.
He had to get it out. So I'm like, okay, Edwin, I like your story. I would want to hear more about it. And then a little bit later on, we see Anthony and Winter talking, and I'm sorry, I had to laugh again because this scene was really funny to me. Because as soon as Anthony and Winter is walking out, because Anthony has his eyes on Winter, Winter really has her eyes on Jade, but she just wants to fill out everyone. But I'm sorry, it's just so funny to me. When they walked out, and Jay was walking, Jay just gave her an all seductive hug. Like, I see you going out with somebody else, a new boo. And Anthony just excused himself out the way, sambaed a little bit on the side. And Winter was like, I really want to like Anthony, but he's just not trying to choose up or even try to fight for me or anything. And I'm like, yes, Anthony, you have not been. That's probably why you don't really notice him that much, because Anthony just kind of falls to the wayside, just tries to fit in where he can with any of the women that's kind of seem like who's left. And I know that kind of sounds a little bit mean, but that's what it seems like. But I feel like if Anthony was to really choose up with Winter, or even Denise for that matter, they would roll with him because he's actually a good conversationalist. He jokes a lot. He's funny. He got the body yaddy. Like, Anthony could be a good catch for somebody.
Well, Anthony, let me say this. Again, you're right. Maybe that's why I haven't noticed Anthony, because I know you're tired of me saying this, but seriously, when did him and Denise match up? Anthony, is he a good conversationalist? I don't know. I think he's a good listener. I think he wants you to talk and he'll maybe agree. But I also think Anthony is one to just step back. I also think Anthony is ready to love eventually.
But not right now.
Not right now. I think he's ready to date and feel things out, but not ready to love. So Winter ends up asking Anthony, has he been in love before? And he didn't really give a straight answer. Or did he say a long time ago, or not really, or he didn't know? See, that is not a straight enough answer. And I think Winter is a strong enough personality. She needs answers now because she said she's been divorced. She knows what she wants and she's not scared because she asked him, was he scared to love? And he said, kind of. She said, no, since I've been there, done that, I know what I want, and that's no longer an issue for me.
Right. She's looking for a whole person. And Anthony, he's there. He's just not there yet. And that is what's going to set him back from everything. So later on, when we finally get to the cookout that they're having, Nephew Tommy's cooking. We already knew Edwin was going to step in there eventually.
I was waiting to see.
Even if he wasn't asked, he would do it anyways, because I feel like that's just the type of person Edwin is. And Nephew Tommy decides to take this moment to talk to basically two people. First, it was Anthony. Then it was Alex. And he basically talks to Anthony about what we were just talking about and what Winter has talked about. You know, you have to eventually choose somebody. I know that you like Winter. I know that you like Denise. Someone, of course, has the edge over one of them. Right. But you need to kind of choose up, because he did say that women like to be chosen. I like to say everybody likes to be chosen. But in this case, for Anthony, the women that he likes wants to be chosen. And then Nephew Tommy even brings up, like, well, has Denise ever been possessive with you? I was like, no.
All right. He was like, no, I never seen that. And I was like,
she's not going to, because she hasn't chose up. You haven't been fighting for anyone. So Nephew Tommy gives this as a moment for him to, go find someone that you really, really want to put your all in, and just go talk to him, see where it's at. So that's when he went to go to Winter to talk about choosing that. But did he choose?
He didn't choose.
Or did he skate around?
He skated around. He tried to have a conversation, and that's the problem. His communication is not there. And Winter's looking like...
right, just... giving him advice on what he needs to do, because she's like, I think you're a good person, but you're not fighting for me. And if you're not fighting for me, basically, what can I give you? And it's nothing. Right. Not what Jay's going to get, because Jay is definitely, even though he has his hand in Joy's cookie jar,
he's letting his intentions be known.
Right. And I don't know why Anthony decided to take this as a come to Jesus moment, but he's like, you know what? You're right. Like, yes, that's what we're trying to tell you, Anthony. Exactly. So hopefully he gets with the program, or else he's going to be the next person to go.
And now Nephew Tommy talks to Alex about how things are going with Brian. And Alex, to me, is just exhausted. She's exhausted with trying to get Brian to open up, to share his feelings.
Exhausted, just like over it.
That's exhausted to me. Exhausted, over it, whatever you want to choose. She just over him. Just not listening. The lack of communication is everything she keeps saying. The things we've mentioned before. We won't get into everything again. And he just basically wants to know, like, so what are you going to do about it now?
Well, she really just always wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, because, you're just meeting someone and maybe they might open up a little bit, but all the instances that happen, him not listening, it kind of just really turns her off. And especially the part where he's only been in love one time in his life. She definitely feels like this is a red flag, and he's not ready. How are you going to only be in love one time in your life as an adult? I'm like, it can happen. Maybe somebody got other things going on. So now we're at the point where Nephew Tommy is going to sit down with all the men and all the women just to basically fill out who they're feeling and who they're not feeling. But we already pretty much know who they're feeling. Yeah, because collectively as a group.
It doesn't change week to week. It's either Joy, Winter, Denise is in there.
Adriana.
They're all in there. But I have noticed that Alex's name has not been brought up this week.
You are right. Alex's name doesn't usually get name dropped by people, only by Brian. And when it was name dropped by Brian, of course, Brian likes to say they're having issues or whatever. Okay, but someone else who comes up who has been on a chopping block, at least in our book, for the past few weeks, is Simone. And Simone, of course, is always on a chopping block because she always has her lawyer hat on and never really showing her true self, only to Rashid, because that's who she, I guess, is feeling. But before we get into that, I forgot to mention that during the cookout, Simone was talking to Kalfani and Brian, saying that she was feeling both of them and Rashid. And those are, you guys are the only two that I see. She said that to both of them. I'm like,
yeah, but Kalfani shut that down. He's like, you're beautiful, you're educated,
right? Like, we can tell you nervous about being on a chopping block, but don't need to lie, because this is what's going to get you sent out the door.
Exactly.
Which is a come to telling a little bit later. And then we switch to the women, and the women, of course, they all have their general people who they're feeling. Kalfani, Rashid, who else? Jay. But someone that they're not feeling, and I was just a little bit surprised, was Edwin. And then someone who was prominent about not feeling Edwin is Simone. And Simone said she wasn't feeling Edwin because she said he's just, got too much emotional baggage. He isn't ready to love. I was like, is this coming from the same person who always be crying?
It's coming from the same person, but you have to look at the person in the mirror.
Exactly. And that's something that she definitely is going to do, because when we finally get to eliminations, I'm just going to start with the women first. It's not a surprise that Simone was the one who was let go. But she was let go by Edwin. And I was like, isn't this funny?
Isn't it ironic? Now, he gave the speech. It was very nice. It was very eloquent. It was to the point. It didn't hurt her feelings. It was just like giving her positive things to say. However, we're sending you home tonight.
Well, she said she's taking this as a positive, just more like a reflection moment, because she would have never got this if she wasn't in the house. I'm like, that's true, but do you really think she's going to change a little bit, or do you think she's going to be stuck in her same ways?
I think she's going to be stuck in her same ways. And with the things we saw in early episodes with the whispering and all that stuff too, I also think that's part of her natural personality.
And then, since you said all that, the women decided to let Brian go because Brian wasn't really having a connection other than Alex. And Alex was the one to basically give the speech to Brian. And the way Alex said it, it was a little bit cold-blooded, but it was needed because Brian was not really listening to Alex. And I feel like if he did, he would have still been there. And even he said, maybe if I was to just get to know Alex a little bit more. But I'm like, you had an opportunity. But every time you had the opportunity, you always did your Brian thing. And that's what's going to hinder you in the process of being ready to love, in my opinion.
I agree.
So that was basically the episode for Ready to Love. It was a very interesting episode. I kind of feel like they should do another week where they eliminate another man and another woman, because two on each side could definitely go home.
I 100% agree. And if they do that, then the ones who are matched up, which really is 2, maybe 3 in my opinion, the other ones are kind of like left hanging, and I think they need to get it together. And if you want me to be specific, I will. That would be Anthony, Winter, Alex.
Yes, those 3 for sure. So let us know what you guys think about this episode in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching our video. We appreciate all our older subscribers still sticking around, all our new subscribers still coming around. We love you guys, and we hope you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you all for watching, and as always, live simply, be grateful.